Hey, what's up, guys? So yeah, I got the Nikon P900, our camera upgrades for the investigation work that I do. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. I don't know how to use it one bit. This did not, of course, come out of Jen's fundraiser. Enjoy the video. It's on the HiveMind Graphene neural lace interface.
Now you may say, this doesn't concern me, or my children, or my community, but this is less and less true.
See, nanocells are real small, 1,000 times smaller than these dust particulates. You inhale it, they go to work, replicating, spreading like a virus, multiplying in exponentials. 6 months' time, I could have 100 million people. Converted ditch diggers, porn stars, and presidents. Not one would be the wiser. 100 million people will buy what I want them to buy and do pretty much damn well anything I figure they
I'm not kidding. There are those that think, wait a minute. The last sanctified space is that of my consciousness, and you're using this stuff to invade that? You're right. What has gone from the drawing board to the reality is this. The use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate all but the most robust biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely.
A group of scientists say we are closer than ever to creating technology which can emerge with human biology in order to access the cloud in real time. Confused? Well, RT's Rachel Blevins is here and has all the details.
Can you imagine technology that is so advanced it could provide you with instant access to the world's knowledge and artificial intelligence as soon as you think of a specific topic? According to a group of scientists, neural nanorobotics may be developed to enable a safe, secure, instantaneous, real-time interface between the human brain and both biological and non-biological computing systems. This level of technology could include brain-to-brain interfaces, brain-to-computer interfaces, and specifically brain-to-cloud interfaces. Technology linking the brain to the cloud could drastically alter the state of communications between humans and machines. So in order for this to become possible, the study noted that data transfer between living human brains and the cloud would likely require the use of supercomputers with artificial intelligence algorithms. While they say that there are supercomputers with processing speeds fast enough to handle the necessary volumes of data right now, they still have to create tiny devices that would be embedded deep in the brain.
I can create small robotic units, controllable robotic units at the nanoscale, and that these too can be aerosolized. The idea here is to put minimal-sized electrodes in a network within a brain through only minimal intervention to be able to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely.
The senior author of the study noted that once inside the brain, the devices would then wirelessly transmit encoded information to and from a cloud-based supercomputer network for real-time brain state monitoring and data extraction. Such a breakthrough in technology has the power to transform communications, education, work, and the world as we know it. But with the requirement of tiny devices being inserted into your brain in order to access the cloud, it remains to be seen just how many people will be willing to participate.
This is a very touchy area, but the disruptive effect can be huge. It can target key individuals and influence in ways that are kinetic and non-kinetic the attitudes, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, activities, and relative vulnerabilities and predispositions of those individuals for whom it may threaten us. It used to be that I need to be exceedingly close to someone to now influence them with a weapon, and now what we see is we create both distal potential as well as much more capable potential to affect them in a variety of different ways. I give you no science fiction in this lecture. I only give you science fact that may smell of something fictional or fantasy, but represents the reality of what we're capable of doing with the brain science.
So, mind-to-mind communication. This is something of science fiction that we all read about. But this is actually possible today. This is actually possible today.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Eric from the Ancient of Days. It is 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 19th of July, 2021. I pray all my brothers and sisters out there are doing well. And today we're going to wrap up the topic on graphene as the interface, as the one hive mind for the New World Order. So let's get started and jump right into it. I first want to give a special thanks to Casey from her blog. That she sends to me information regularly. And you know what? This weekend, I did absolutely nothing. I needed a badly needed break from researching and looking into things. And she really saved my butt because she sent me a bunch of information yesterday, which I didn't really look at too much until today. And I was like, great, because that opened up a whole bunch of other avenues into information that I could share with you guys so that you can become educated on it. I know that some of this stuff is going to be dry, guys. I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible, and then let you guys go ahead as I leave all the links here that I have up as tabs. Then you could actually read these entire articles for yourselves. I'm also going to, because at the end here, at the very end of this, we're going to look at well, this is the guy, yeah, here, he's the graphene guy. Look at how far this goes all the way back. His name is, Michael Fulgestorm from TEDx. So you guys could check out the entire vid. I will leave the link in the description box. But what I did is I just, this video here, what I did is I really just edited segments of it that pertain particularly to what I'm talking about in this topic today. So if you'd like to watch the entire video, I'm going to leave this link, of course, in the box with the rest of the links, because, you know, it can be dry, but some people like to learn as much as they possibly can. And another one here, which this one's not so dry, actually. New Brain Computer Interface Technology. Steve Hoffman from TEDx. Okay, so this one here was just from 2017. I know it's, you know, getting past mid-2021 now, but it's amazing how when you look at these older videos, now, of course, I never even saw this video before, but even like Harold Kotzvella, go back to 2015. Those videos now that used to seem like science fiction back in 2014, 2015 even, or even as recently as 2017, which was just, 4 years ago, basically, just under 4 years ago, seemed like an impossibility or something that was at least decades out into the future, but it's now manifesting right now, right in front of our faces, guys. And it's happening all around the earth. So it's not just here in the States, of course. It's happening everywhere, as you guys are well aware. So interfacing graphene-based materials with neural cells. That would be our brains. Okay, I'm just going to briefly go through some of this because, again, I'm going to put all of these articles into the description box. This actually here goes back to April 11th of 2018. The scientific community has witnessed an exponential increase in the applications of graphene and graphene-based materials in a wide range of fields, from engineering to electronics to biotechnologies. Biotechnologies would be transhumanism, really. It's technology intermingled with biology and biomedical applications. Yeah, I could see that if they wanted to go ahead and use some of this technology for like cleaning out your heart valves and whatnot that they speak about, yeah, that would be wonderful if that was the primary application. But unfortunately, the primary application is actually the complete opposite. But regardless, I can't talk about some of those things, but you know where I'm going with that. For what concerns neuroscience, the interest raised by these materials is twofold. On one side, nanosheets made of graphene or graphene derivatives, graphene oxide specifically, or its reduced form, can be used as carriers for drug delivery. So now here we're going to just kind of scroll down here. This gives you the introduction to graphene. Introduction. Okay, graphene, G, is a single or few layered sheet of sp2. That is the name that they give to graphene bonded carbon atoms tightly packed on two-dimensional 2D sheets, honeycombed lattice, with a thickness of only 0.34 nanometers. 0.34 nanometers. That meaning it literally has no height. That's how small that is. A nanometer is 1/billionth of a meter. So it's actually 1/3 of 1/billionth of a meter in height, therefore making it basically, without any height whatsoever. So it lacks height. It's only two-dimensional, having length and width. Each carbon atom has 3 bonds, and out of plane bond can bind neighboring atoms. Okay, this gets into self-assembling nanotechnologies. Okay, so let's scroll down a little more. Graphene applications in neuroscience. The biomedical applications of graphene represent a field of continuous expansion. Traditional treatments for central nervous system disorders present a number of challenges, thus developing new tools that outperform the state-of-the-art technologies for imaging, drug delivery, non-neural regeneration, and electrical recording. That's what I want to talk about right there. Electrical recording and sensing is one of the main goals of modern medicine and neuroscience, meaning they truly want to go ahead and record what the brain is perceiving, seeing, hearing, thinking, and feeling. As Brian Crawford had spoken about that when he worked at SIS Inc., he likened it to looking through the eyes of the targeted individual when they use this type of technology that's done through the quantum computers that generates an image based on your neural patterns, your electrical recordings, okay? Based on your neural thought patterns, electrical recording your neurons, it then processes and puts an image on a screen for those looking to see it. Since the development of carbon-related materials, nanotechnology has strongly impacted a number of applications. Okay, here's the figure 1. Graphene-based neural interfaces. They tell you right here. Let me increase this here, okay? Graphene-based neural interfaces for a variety of neuronal functionalities like recording. Are you hearing this? Like recording, stimulation, and biosensing, modified with permission of whoever this is. Graphene nanosheets, dispersions of biomedical applications could give some unwanted effects due to the intrinsic characteristics of the material. Interestingly, functionalization of graphene surface could alleviate most of these drawbacks. So graphene is like a wonder carbon-based. Now, as we continue to scroll on down here, let's have a look. Right here, graphene substrates as neuronal interfaces. Tissue engineering aims to restore the functionality of disrupted tissue by interfacing it with suitable biomaterials. Well, graphene is a biomaterial. This is a fast expanding field of research in need of innovative approaches to achieve highly biocompatible, functional, and low-invasive implants for long-term applications. Well, we already know by just looking up here a little bit that they admit that graphene is at the size of nanoparticles. Nanoparticle engineering, okay? They're talking about graphene here as nanomaterials offer enormous potential for therapeutics and diagnosis, but also raise the possibility to unintended access to the brain. All right? Let's read that again. Nanoparticle engineering, as they tell us right here that graphene is actually a nanoparticle now, okay? And this was back in 2018 of April. Nanomaterials offer enormous potential for therapeutics. That's beautiful. And diagnosis, but also raise the possibility of unintended access to the brain. In vivo studies showed that the nanoparticle could be found in the central nervous system upon various ways of administration. So they're telling us here that they can easily go ahead and use it through nanoparticles, and they've even found it in the central nervous system, which of course the central nervous system is your spinal cord, and the spinal fluid goes right up to your brain. So the spinal fluid and your cerebral fluid are the same because they're all interconnected. Let's continue to scroll down because they already told us that it was an interface. They also told us right here that substrates neuronal interfaces. Graphene is a neuronal interface, 3D graphene-based scaffolds, composites, foams, fibers, hydrogels. Unfreaking believable. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Listen to this. 3D graphene-based scaffolds, composites, foams, fibers, and hydrogels. Again, hydrogels, does that remind you of anything? Applications of graphene-based materials in neurology field will be possible upon development of three-dimensional scaffolds able to support nerve generation across the injured lesion state. Unique properties of planar 2D graphene scaffolds are exceeded by 3D graphene structures, which provide a microenvironment where the cells are able to grow under conditions that are closer to in vivo situation. All right, that's very, very interesting. Look here, figure 4. It shows us the scaffolds in the VO image to the neural stem cells. Okay, this is all in the brain. How did it get there? Well, I don't know. Through nanoparticles, perhaps? Or could it be through injections? Graphene-based devices for neural recording and stimulation. Unbelievable. I mean, they don't even hide anything anymore. Clinical interventions for recovery of neural dysfunctions and motor disorders attract challenges the research towards implantable stimulation devices able to adapt to flexible supports and possibly outperform the most common metal electrode-based technologies. That's because graphene is a really great conductor of electricity. Polymeric interfaces, again, there's that word, interfaces, outperform in terms mechanically compliant properties, but often lack durability. And graphene is one of the most durable materials ever known to man. Under physiological conditions, and above all, proper electrical conductivity. Neural stimulation techniques such as deep brain. Well, how are they getting it into the deep brain? Well, you know, guys, we know how they're doing it, okay? Brain or cortical stimulation, cochlear and retinal implants usually rely on the ability of implanted devices to elicit a functional response of the tissue by providing a minimum injecting charge. So as we scroll down here, what else can we see that it's used for here? Computation modeling and simulations of graphene interacting biomolecular systems. Wow, unbelievable. Let's scroll down a little more. Okay, so absorption of biomolecules onto graphene. So they're talking about absorption rates. Interactions with graphene with biomembranes. Are you starting to see a pattern here where everything that they're talking about has to do with intermingling biology with technology, that what we call transhumanism? Okay, so this is definitely an agenda. Okay, so the graphene structures here. Ionic bonding holds ions together as a giant lattice. Bonds create simple molecules or giant covalent structures. Different types of bonding give a substance different properties, different melting points and different boiling points, different electrical conductivity, again, electrical conductivity, and different solubility in water, among much else. Well, if it's going to be used in a biological body, then it has to be able to be sustained in a wet environment. This is actually what it looks like right here. This is the lattice effect. That's why they call it the honeycomb look. That's the graphene structure, the 666 hive mind. Now let's look here at the neural lace hive mind graphene interface video that I did. Just a little brief introduction here about the exact chemistry here that's going on that they're putting into the biology of people across the earth right now as I'm speaking into this microphone. Let's listen.
So DARPA, this new graphene sensors could provide unprecedented insight into brain structure. And this is funded by DARPA. This is a DARPA agenda, of course, as we know. They're obsessed with it.
Okay, it's important that you understand that this is definitely DARPA is behind it. And why in the world would DARPA be behind and cheering on with pom-poms for a vaccination campaign? But nonetheless, let's continue to listen.
with some globalist military agenda. Okay, so what they're saying here is they're merging three technologies, all that recently won the Nobel Prize. So they tell us here that the new device uses graphene, a recently discovered form of carbon. Yeah, and it's only 4 atoms thick. And they're using these as biological sensors. But they're merging 3 technologies to deliver this graphene to the world.
Now, I found this very interesting that all 3 of these were Nobel Prize. Let's listen.
Cutting-edge research in graphene, yeah, which earned a Nobel Prize in 2010. Then super resolved fluorescent microscopy, which earned the 2014 Nobel Prize in chemistry. And optogenics, which involves genetically modifying cells, yeah, to create light reactive proteins. So obviously that's an injection. You wouldn't call it a vaccine. Gene therapy, though, it's an injection anyway. That's the point I'm trying to make. So the graphene is being injected according, that is the DARPA, obviously. Otherwise they're not. Why are they going to get excited by something which would need everyone to have surgery when no one's going to agree to have surgery? They're getting excited because this is being injected into everyone. Yeah, that's what they're doing. So some interesting information. Graphene-based neural probe detects brain activity at high resolution and signal quality. This is a science blog, and just making the mention, also making the link here. Researchers from the European Graphene Flagship have developed this neural probe based on graphene field effect transistors, and they're just making the point here, it could play a role in Elon Musk just announced neural link neural lace. Of course it is the brain interface, because just reading this here, very interesting. Graphene based neural interface.
Here you go, listen to this. If you guys haven't seen this video, if not, skip ahead, that's fine, but here's the punchline.
This allows improved brain activity mapping. Again, the quite recent EU Graphene Flagship, yeah, that's everything. That's the our mind connected via graphene, and also the augmented reality.
Pretty amazing. I mean, this was from March of 2021, so it's not like this is old news here at all. But here's what I want to show you guys, because this graphene that you're talking about, how it's so magnetic and it's such an interface and a great conductor of heat and electricity. Now, if this becomes part of your biology, here's where the whole connection was made, that this is an interface, and they have actually magnetized the ambient air, and they have turned the sky into plasma by ionizing the nanoparticles that are sprayed through the chemtrail program, such as barium, strontium, aluminum. They go ahead and they ionize them with EMF, an extremely low frequency radiation. It removes or adds an electron, and it becomes plasma. Here it is. This is from, let's see. Let's open this up here again and see what the date is from. This is a private video that I uploaded the day that I took it. It was July 2nd of 2021. So let's look at the electromagnetic pulse in the air, in the skies above. Okay, this is from my cam, my 5G cam, 24 megapixels, 14.3 zoom capacity at 60 frames per second. Do you see that pulsing? I got the volume off. Let's listen to what I was saying. Are you guys freaking kidding me? You see that electromagnetic frequency coming off of my trees? I found the device that's doing it. That's freaking crazy, man. I found the device that's doing that. Are you guys seeing that pulse? Again, this is an electromagnetic frequency that is throughout all of the ambient air, including the skies way above in the cloud structures where the nanoparticulates are, as well as all the nanobots and the refractive barium veil, because Again, barium is so refractive, it's as refractive as glass. That in conjunction with the aluminum nanoparticles, it makes it exactly like looking at a mirror reflection. That's why we cannot see all of this clandestine activity that is happening in the skies above, because it's what's in a plasma field. This is electromagnetic radiation within the ambient air. Now here's another one. This one here was from 5/26, so May 26. Okay, I actually did a video with this footage. Now I want you guys to look at this incredible electromagnetic pulse. Again, taken with a 5G cam, 24 megapixels at with 14.3 zoom capacity at 60 frames per second. Let's look. Do you see the vibration? And that's because this is actually what's called a lunar simulator that actually spins at a tremendous pace. Look at the scalar waves and the ELF frequencies coming off of this. You could see the electromagnetic pulse within the plasma field. These here, they're not real clouds. That's ionized metals that are in cloud formation shapes. That this thing spins at such a tremendous velocity, you could even see right here where my cursor is, it starts to spin and whirlwind all these particles into like a funnel. And I'm trying to catch this thing spinning. That's why I was having it so low. Now look at how it like starts to separate here. It's as if there's two objects there. And then it starts projecting plasma all throughout the fields. And that's because there's various clandestine craft that are all throughout these plasma fields that they created with EMF radiation. This is not lens distortion of any sort. Okay, look at here when I wasn't zoomed in at all. Okay, when I wasn't zoomed in at all. Look at the pulse there. That's because they have on here what I believe is called a gyrotron or a cyclotron. Creates the resonance and the vibration and the pulse frequency because it ionizes the metals that create the plasma field for cloaking technology, and it turns it into a holography screen so that they could truly project what they want us to see on it, and they could also cloak what they don't want us to see. This I could not see with the naked eye. This is what I'm able to pick up with my camera, and I've been showing this how many times, guys. You're probably like, please, no more, you know, right? But we're going to keep looking again anyway, because this one here is the last one I'll show you. This was taken in 2019 on the Night Watcher, right? The investigation I did. I don't care so much about the lunar sim passing by. What I do want to show you here is how when they turn the sky into a holography screen, you start to see all of the light refraction as well as all of this black matter. This is black matter goo. It's called programmable matter, non-terrestrial. So this actually manifests into the demons and the archons, and that's why everybody's capturing these spirits, these that are manifesting into the physical 3D. The higher dimensional fallen astral plane beings have come through from the other side because they actually pierced the veil. By piercing the veil, by opening vortexes and portals, it allowed the fifth density astral plane beings to come into the 3D physical world as black matter that then manifests into demonic entities that I've been able to capture and show you guys on with my camera for the last almost 2 years. But really up here, what you're seeing is light refraction from the barium and the aluminum. And this is not enhanced, guys. This is the original footage. Now right here again, on an early summer morning, I've showed you guys this at least 100 times. Look at how the sky is just pulsing everywhere. And actually there's nanobots by the bucket loads pouring up into the sky because this energy field, this plasma field, it acts like one of those high-speed rail trains, and all of these things shoot off into the sky and actually operate and skate on it, and that's how they're able to travel at a pace that is so far beyond your comprehension, it cannot be picked up with the human eye. Only through a camera can you pick them up, and even at 60 frames per second, guys, I can catch these things at like 1 to 3/60th of a frame. That's how fast they fly across the sky. So that's what that's all about, is why they've magnetized the ambient air all around us. So that's what that was all about, and why they actually magnetized the ambient air all around us. Now there's going to be here, we're going to finish out the vid with two of these TEDx talks. This one here, I'm gonna leave all these links in the box. Like I said, this one here I edited nice and short for you because I didn't want to put you through the pain and the agony of all 19 minutes and 58 seconds. This one here, I pretty much did the same thing. I just gave the clip that I was really interested in, which was talking about the new brain-computer interface technology by Steve Hoffman, going all the way back to August 29th of 2017. Now this one's actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. So if you want to watch this one's going to be in the description box as well. But I put these together here for you so that we can listen to them right now. Let's go ahead and have a listen to that.
New materials have always been a bearer of new technologies and subsequent societal development and advances. Graphene is amazing. It's the material of superlatives. It's best in everything. It's another issue, another property which is nice, and that is that it has a width, a length, but it has no height, so it's only surface. And then it's strange in that sense that I can put any material, substance on top of it, and it won't let it through. It's impermeable to other elements and substances. It has other properties. It's the best thermal conductor. It carries heat extremely well. It's one of the best electrical conductors. It carries charge extremely well. It's one of the best electrical conductors. It carries charge extremely well. And on top of this, it's transparent, so it lets light through.
So now, pay attention here, guys, because right here we're going to start talking about the graphene makeup, the nanoparticle makeup. He's going to start to describe how the structure looks, how the lattice looks. You'll see here in these pictures. Let's carry on.
But first, I thought I'll give you a crash course in science. And if you take the picture here to my left, you see a chicken wire with black spots in the apexes where the lines meet. That's the carbon atoms. And they organize like this by themselves. And the reason why they do that is carbon has the possibility of making a lot of different compounds. And it has 4 electrons in its outer shell, which are responsible of it. It's very easy. It's with these nice blobs that I have shown here. What happens is 3 of them will fall in a plane, make something the chemist would tell you is sp2 hybridization. And the neighboring carbon atoms want to share electrons with each other. And they do this very well. It's a covalent bond, it's called. And this bond is extremely strong. This will make graphene the strongest and also flexible material that you have. So mechanical properties comes from this simple electron bonding. And then we have the blue guy, which is the electron which is left. And due to quantum mechanics, it doesn't know if it's on top or bottom, because you have some uncertainty, as you should. But this electron skates around this chicken wire with the speed of light in that material. So it's basically a relativistic particle. It has no mass, so it was a big excitement, of course, that now we can really test fundamental physics in this material. And this blue guy is responsible of the heat carrying, the electrical charge, and also the transparent. And now, of course, you can start playing around, combining properties or exploring special properties as far as you can. And this is something that we know of as translational nanotechnology. And I show you 4 examples, and I'll go into 3, perhaps a little bit more in depth. The first one you see up in the left corner is the possibility of making flexible, transparent electronics. And this is a bit of science fiction. I would take up a roll of plastic. It would look like it's transparent, and I'll get today's news of whatever I'm subscribing. I get a movie, I get whatever. So you can have a piece of material which is flexible and still communicating. So it's just a new way of communication and information processing. So ICT, that's information, communication, and technology, basically. That's short for that. We have another one, which is down in the corner, and you see an airplane there. And as graphene is so strong, you can put it into composites. And it's not only strong, it's extremely light. And this is quite important, because now you can make big chunks of this material and put it into, let's say, the body of an airplane. You cut the weight by a lot, and the fuel cost will go down, and you can just do other kinds of vehicles, basically. Up in the right corner, you see a face of a small car which is plugged in, and we all know about that we want to have electrical cars to cut fuel, all the emissions and so on. And graphene is essential in that because it has promise of making very effective batteries and supercapacitors. That's batteries that load very quickly. There is an idea of having supercapacitors to drive Elfsnabben, you know, the little boat going across here. Basically, every time it docks, fueling up with electricity and shooting back and fueling up again. Nowadays, you know that if I want to take my iPhone or my car, I need to spend hours to get it loaded. Now you could do it in a few minutes. And then one thing which is very interesting, you see the picture here, you see a DNA strand, and it's going through a hole which is made in graphene. And the idea here is that pulling it slowly through the graphene mesh, you could sequence the DNA and understand more. There were 4 scientific articles that came out the same week with the same kind of picture. So what has happened with this is basically imagination is the limit, but we still need to prove these things. Now I want to say a little bit in depth about graphene. And here's something that came earlier this year from a group in Germany. And they were playing around with graphene transistors in a liquid, and they realized that they could operate them and make them interact. And of course, there's a big problem. Let's say your eye is destroyed for some reason, but your visual cord is still working. Then you would like to connect that to something biocompatible and give it impulses, because one knows that you can regain sight in a sense. And today you do this retinal transplants. But in this idea, graphene seems to be biocompatible, which means that if you let graphene interact with a nerve cell, it will meander out, and it's ready to take the electrical impulses that you can feed it. And this you would do by placing a camera, just like this CCT camera, which would give the impulses to the graphene membrane, and then it would trigger impulses for this. Another important thing in today's society, it's interesting, it's important, but it's extremely problematic. That's our need of having vehicles to get around. And this is a concept car. There have been many different concept cars always around to solve different problems. But this one is now very integrated, and its idea taken out by Daimler in this case, but there are others. And it's this smart car. Already today, if you go to Berlin, you see them like we have our bikes in Göteborg. They have their cars that you can subscribe to and drive around. Very interesting. But this car now, you have integrated. You have made the chassis of a composite material. You have made the roof smart materials. So it's like a solar cell. So it's picking up energy from the sun, which it feeds back to its graphene-based battery, which is driving it. So it's fueling as it's going. And of course, you can always top off quickly at some station. And it also could have smart material in it, because you could have transparent electronics, so your windscreen would be your display board and so on. So there are a lot of these ideas which are working on going in this direction. I have a third example, which I think is extremely important, because this is perhaps one of the big sources of war today. Water supply. We have a lot of water, but 98% of it is too salty to use. So people have thought, okay, let's desalinate it, take away the salt. Turns out that this is an extremely energy inefficient and hard process to do, and it's slow. Now, this is based on a computer simulation where you have a divider of graphene, where you have made nano-holes in it, and you have decorated the holes by hydroxy molecules, and you apply a pressure gradient, so it's reversed osmosis. And what you have to the right is salt water, and this little hole is selective. It lets only the water through and leaves the salt on the other side. And it does it to 100 to 1,000 times more efficient than any other process, available process in this kind of in this field. What I have told you about now is great possibilities And of course, they are still, this is a computer simulation. There's no experiment yet. And the car doesn't exist, and there was only an idea. But the potential of this material has allowed the European scientists to go together and actually get the big funding from EU on the level of €1 billion euros over 10 years. And how it was sold to them is this funny picture. I hope you don't start reading now, but the idea, let's focus on the color scale here. To the left, you have the idea of science. You have this fantastic material of superlatives. You have the bright ideas of designers, engineers, and etc. You have other materials. Once you have proven that one is possible to do two-dimensional, you can have more. And the idea, what is said, that we want to take this, and we want to be able to compete to Asia and Americas and so on, and go together, because you have to make this a joint effort. And the idea is that we want to take this material over 10 years from the blue to the red. And that means going from academia into industry. And of course, you can sell it on making faster computers, ICT, and so on. And you can have energy and all these important things. But the most important thing, when you pick the mind of the guys in the EU, is that we bring people together. We make societal changes, giving job opportunities, education, and actually working together. This was what they were interested in. I asked them, what should I tell you in 5 years? And they say, well, it wasn't so important that all the big gains in technology, of course they're important, but it was this, that we could work together, because we are 17 countries there, of close to 200 groups working together. Okay, that was a little bit about visions and so on. Let's talk a little bit more about how it's produced. There are several ways of producing graphene. The first one you heard about is you take some tape, you take some well-defined graphite, and you start ripping it apart, like this. Take 6 rips, and you have graphene. Even the king can do it. Anyone can do it, under guidance. It's extremely easy. But you need a microscope, you need to have the ideas, and of course. And then you have to find it. That's very hard, because you get a square micrometer of this, so you have to find it. So, of course, we want to make high-speed electronics, so you do this, you have silicon carbide, and you evaporate the first layer of silicon, and you get very nice, compatible with electronics industry. And in fact, in Linköping, within our projects, we have the first graphene producing company in Sweden. You have down in the right corner, you put graphite in liquid, and you shake it with ultrasound, and it falls apart. And this you can print, and you make printed electronics, which is superseding any printed electronics today. The thing that my colleagues do at Chalmers is known as chemical vapor deposition. That means that you put a hot copper plate or some metal in a furnace, and you introduce carbonous gases. And those dissociate, and the carbon falls down on the metal, and by self-termination, it makes a single layer of graphene. And the guys we are sort of competing with in Asia already made 100 meters, 20 centimeters apart. And of course, this is now possible for all kinds of applications. What they do in our clean room is they make the graphene by the CVD. They use a process which is close to a battery process to bubble off the graphene. And then you see a picture of a typical size of graphene. It's limited in our place by the size of our furnace. But in principle, I used to say that all these fantastic things we're going to do with this size of my thumb. So we need to scale up a little bit, as you understand. But the idea is this. We can make the graphene, and we can now go on and into our research. This is also too busy. Please don't try to understand everything of this picture. But the essence of this picture is that we have groups that are making vertically emitting lasers for communication purposes. You have fiber to your homes, some who don't live too far away from urbanization, but you know, you use light for communication, and then they're making these lasers. And one of the basic properties is this, that they need to have. They need to have a transparent current-spreading electrode in this. And there is where we try to see the properties of the graphene that was made. And they feed it back, and they feed back to the process, and we learn all the way how to do it. But this has even more consequences, because transparent electronics today is done with one of the scarce materials, indium, in indium tin oxide. So I mean, I guess we had some polls in the previous talk, but everyone raised their smartphone. We all have it. And there's an enormous demand because everyone in the world wants to have it. And it's really one of the most scarce materials that you have. So the promise of this basic research is to work towards trying to replace something that everyone wants to have. And we all know the iPad is great, but it's not flexible, because graphene would be possible to make more alternative functionalities and shape and form of this. And if you compare, indium is among the 14 rarest elements, and carbon is the 4th most abundant, so we have a lot of possibilities here. Okay, so coming back to where I started, I hope you got some kind of flavor that in this simple pencil drawing, where you actually have produced not graphene, but probably quite thin layers of graphite, actually could hold a promise for the future.
So there will come a point where if we have a chip in our brain, and you out there have a chip in your brain, we can communicate. We can communicate without talking. We can communicate when you're halfway around the world. And we can exchange knowledge. So, if you look at a world where we have these chips that are connected to the internet, all of a sudden, every piece of information on the internet becomes accessible to our minds. Now, when we look back at today and we have to go to Baidu or Google and type it in, that will seem so primitive. Nobody will do that. You will just think, what knowledge do I need? And it will appear there for you to use. But it gets even weirder, stranger. Because we will not only be able to transfer knowledge, but we will be able to transfer memories. Now, so you could have an experience like skydiving, and all of a sudden you could transfer that experience to a friend, and all of a sudden they have experienced what you have experienced. It gets even weirder, because we will be living our lives as our lives. We know our lives and our memories, but you will all of a sudden have access to anybody's life who wants to make it available to you. People will open source their lives so others can download pieces of their lives and experience those things. That will be really strange. We won't know the difference between our own memory and a memory we acquired from someone else. Think about that. It gets even stranger. So, all of us are here learning at SEEBS, right? Getting EMBAs and MBAs. Well, this will be obsolete, because SEEBS will literally be in the cloud. And you will just download from all the best minds in the world whatever you need to know when you need to know it. Our brains we will no longer have universities as we have them today. That will change. Information will be on demand. Information will be commoditized. Knowledge will be commoditized. All of us will be smarter, have infinite amounts of storage, and infinite access to information. It will be unheard of. We will no longer be this isolated human being. We will be connected to everything. So, you can imagine not only will we be able to get knowledge, but we can actually have full experiences in our head. So right now we have these clunky VR units that we have to put on. But in the future, you can just download a whole environment and actually live in it. And all of you might think, this is not real. But do you know, every night when you dream, those dreams are real. No matter how fantastic your dreams are, they are real. You feel like you're really there. Our brains have that capability already built in. All it takes is the technology to stimulate and transfer the right images in our brain so our brain creates them, and then we will live like the difference between us dreaming and reality will be blurred. We will be spending a lot of time outside our bodies. So, think about this. You, as a human being right now, are trapped in this body. But once you are connected to the internet, you are no longer trapped in your body. You can actually be anywhere at any time that any other person or any other device is getting sensory information. So there could be a robot on Mars, and you could literally tap into the robot on Mars, and it would be like you're on Mars. It could totally recreate the experience, including the sensations, the physical sensations, like everything of you being on Mars. You can live through other people. Your favorite pop star, your favorite scientist. You could be in Elon Musk's head right now, walking around doing what he's doing, if Elon Musk allowed you to do that. It gets so strange because our senses now, we have our 5 senses of our body. But suddenly, if we are connected to a world of intelligent machines and intelligent sensors all over, we will no longer have 5 senses. We will have access to hundreds of sensory input, infrared, right? All these UV, all these different types of senses that we never even experienced before. It will radically change how we perceive existence. So if you start to go down this path, you see, we won't even be, our life today will be totally alien to us. We will be living in a whole nother reality that is blending information, sensory information, data information, memories, all of this from all around the world in this vast internet. And that will and can happen. So let's go even further. Experiencing other lives. So all of us experience things in our life. But now we will be able to have many lives. You can have many lives because you can access other people in other places and live through them. And if you want to think about this, it can be almost like heaven. Why do I say this? Because if you study every major religion in the world, every religion, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, what those religions promise us is that we will escape our bodies in the future. We will go to some heaven or nirvana or a state of non-being or a state of inclusiveness with everybody. No longer will we and our consciousness be confined to our bodies as an individual. In fact, if you look at us right now as a human being, if I feel pain, if I'm in pain, nobody else can feel the pain I feel. If you're in pain, I can't feel your pain. I can feel sorry for you, I can empathize with you, but I cannot feel your pain. But in this world, we will actually be able to feel the emotions of other people. You can actually not just transfer data and sensory information, but emotions. I would know your pain, you would know our pain, and human beings would never be alone. So, we will come to a point where we, as gods, like gods, will be creating our own reality. We will be redefining what the human experience is for the first time in history. This can happen, and it will happen, but what we want to think about is this. Technology is really powerful. The internet, being connected, is really powerful, but we've already seen in a very primitive way, just with our cell phones, these primitive devices, how it can totally change our life. Like all of our lives are changed by WeChat. All of our lives are changed by the internet. Well, we are embarking on a path now where we will become the internet. The internet will become us. They will be inseparable. We'll have our storage and everything else all over the place. And when we do that, we have to understand that this is a big responsibility. It's something we as a society, we as the human race, must think about very, very carefully. Because imagine, people can hack your cell phone now. People can hack your computer, and it can be bad. They can steal your banking information, take all your money. They can steal your identity, but they can't really hurt you. In the future, though, if somebody hacks into your head because it's connected to the internet, they can steal you. They could actually steal you. They can implant memories in your head that you don't have. They could erase memories. They could control you in ways that you wouldn't even know you're being controlled. Is this scary? So I painted on the hand a heaven, but there is also a hell, right? This is heaven and hell. We are on the cusp of this technology that is so powerful and has the potential to so radically transform our lives and our existence, and we have to be very careful about how we do this. We don't want people controlling us. So think about this. Think very carefully. Everybody in this room are very smart people. You're all highly educated. We are going to be making these decisions that lay the groundwork for this technology in our lifetime. And those decisions will affect the rest of humanity more than any decisions we have made in the past.
Alright, God bless, guys. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far into the video, bless you, and thank you for watching. I look forward to moving on to bigger and better projects and topics, so I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Please sub up, and I'll see you then. Take care and God bless.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day,